Thank you for joining me again for the Twits by Roald Dahl. Okay, so last time we got to know the monkey family a little better. Mugglewump and the Mugglewump family try to warn the birds that come and sit on the old dead tree. Don't sit there. You're going to become a part of bird pie, but the birds don't understand them because the monkeys are speaking an African language and the birds are obviously speaking some kind of British bird language. And so but a good thing happens in that the roly-poly bird shows up. Now, the roly-poly bird and Mugglewump are friends from way back in the Enormous Crocodile book. And so they asked the roly-poly bird to warn those birds, don't sit on the old dead tree. You're going to become a part of bird pie. And he does in a beautiful song. And so the birds are saved for that night from the bird pie. Anyways, and so at the end of it, it doesn't say what Mr. Twit's reaction was, but I assume he did not enjoy it. He was planning on a supper. The supper didn't work out. So this chapter, we're going to see what happens next. Let's look at the titles first. The title helps us know the main idea of what's going to be happening in that chapter, and we will also look at the pictures. The pictures help us visualize what we are reading so that we can see the pictures going through our head as we read. Okay, so the first chapter that we're going to look at, we're actually going to go through two chapters because this first one's kind of a micro chapter. It's really tiny, like one paragraph long. Anyways, so the first chapter that we're going to go through is called No Bird Pie for Mr. Twit. That seems like a pretty good sentence to put on a main idea chart, doesn't it? No bird pie for Mr. Twit. And then we'll list the reasons why there's no bird pie. Okay. And it shows us one picture. I see monkeys inside of a cage, and I see a bunch of birds sitting on top of a cage. They all look happy. And that's the end of that chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and read that chapter. Now, the one word that I wanted you to think about in this one was snatch. Snatch means to grab something quickly and to do it in a rude way. So like you have your friend takes your pencil from you while you're trying to write your notes for class and you snatch it back from them. It's just a grab quick that's not in a kind way. Okay, so no bird pie for Mr. Twit. The next morning, when Mr. Twit came out with his huge basket to snatch all the birds from the big dead tree, there wasn't a single one on it. They were all sitting on top of the monkey cage. The roly-poly bird was there as well, and Mugglewump and his family were inside the cage, and the whole lot of them were laughing at Mr. Twit. And so, yeah, they are happy. They're laughing at Mr. Twit. And that's the end of that chapter. So we found out that we don't even know how Mr. Twit feels yet. We just know that he came out and the birds did not bother to be like, I'm getting out of here. This is death zone. No, they decided to go sit on top of the monkey cage and be like, ha, ha, ha. Pretty funny. Anyways, so now we're going to move on to the next chapter. We start off our chapters by looking at the title. The title gives us a main idea. And we look at the pictures. And the pictures help us visualize, see in our head what's going on. Okay. So in this chapter, there's the word smeared again, which we know smeared means spread. Think about a piece of toast and butter. You smear toast, you smear the butter on the toast. And then crouched. Okay, crouched is to sit low, kind of with the knees bent, like you're trying to be hidden. Okay, so let's look at the title and the pictures. Now, this first one, they gave us another bonus title with picture. So it says, Still No Bird Pie for Mr. Twit. Now, the last chapter was called No Bird Pie for Mr. Twit, and he did not get any bird pie in that chapter. And this one's called Still No Bird Pie for Mr. Twit. But in the picture, I can see Mr. Twit on a ladder, and I can see he's painting something. It's probably the sticky glue, and I can see he's painting it on a cage. Let's see if there's any more pictures in this chapter. Oh, there's one. There's a picture of our good friend, the roly-poly bird. And he is squawking, yelling, definitely flying. So let's see what happens. Still no bird pie for Mr. Twit. Mr. Twit wasn't going to wait another week for his bird pie supper. He loved bird pie. It was his favorite meal. So that very same day, he went after the birds again. This time he smeared the top bars of the monkey cage with sticky glue, as well as the branches of the big dead tree. Now I'll get you, he said. Whichever one you sit on. The monkeys crouched inside the cage, watching all this. Later on, when the roly-poly bird came swooping in for an evening chat, they shouted, "Don't land on our cage, roly-poly bird! It's covered with sticky glue! So is the tree!" And that evening, as the sun went down, all the birds came in again to roost, and roly-poly bird flew around the cage, around and around the monkey cage, and the big dead tree singing out his warning, "There's sticky stuff now on cage and tree. If you land on either, you'll never get free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up tomorrow in hot bird pie." So we see that he was singing, it turns out. So I wonder what's going to happen next. Now, I should have warned you I did sing in that chapter. I'm sorry I didn't tell you beforehand. Thank you for being understanding. Okay, so we'll come back next time. We'll find out what the next reaction to Mr. Twit was. He's tried smearing cage and tree, still no bird pie.